So we have a treat for you in this next segment that really builds on the last segment. We just heard about the importance of thinking innovatively to prepare students for careers in our ever-evolving economy. In late 2023, the Georgia Chamber Foundation was awarded $3 million from the Georgia Department of Education for rural workforce preparedness grants for school districts. And so what we'll hear next are some stories that are evolving from that first round of investment. The Chamber, at their Eggs and Issues breakfast in January, announced the first round, and I'm excited to share that more districts have been added to this group. So we'll hear from 3 district leaders here this morning who are grant recipients to learn more about the proposals and other efforts that they're engaging in their communities across the state to increase workforce preparedness. So our panelists include Don Clements, who's the superintendent from Ben Hill County School District, Dr. Al Griffin, superintendent in Meriwether County, and Dr. Kathleen Truitt, superintendent in Lee County. So please join me in welcoming our guests. All right, well, let's get started. Just hearing a little bit about the workforce preparedness efforts that are already going on, and give us just a little bit of an overview of your district. So, Don, we'll start with you.
We are a small rural district in South Georgia, Middle South Georgia. We have 3,000 students, around 500 teachers. We are the largest employer in our district. We have a college and career academy. We opened in 2019. We built a new high school. We opened 2 years ago. So we are really working with our industry partners to create a sustainable workforce in Ben Hill County. So we're very excited about the work that's going on there.
And I'm Al Griffin. I'm the superintendent of schools in Meriwether County. We're in rural west central Georgia. We're sort of encompassed by Truitt County, Harris County, and Coweta. And we're pre-K through 12. We have a little over 2,300 students. Regarding workforce development, we have 10 career tech education pathways. And the career tech director and I, we work diligently with the local industrial development board and to assure that hopefully we have programs that are meeting the entry-level workforce needs for our local industries, and also serve on the Chamber of Commerce board. And so it's a consistent effort in our county to meet workforce development needs.
I'm Katie Truitt. I apologize. The South Georgia allergies have come on strong in the last week or so. I have the honor of serving the Lee County community. We are a bedroom community to Doherty and Albany, and a lot of our workforce efforts have been surrounding really meeting the needs of our area industry, but also meeting the needs of our students. So Lee County has a tradition of being a high-performing district, but also we are working to make sure our kids come back home and work in the area. So those efforts have been surrounded there and have done some really great partnering with local business, but also partnering with surrounding communities too as well, not just being that solo out on our own.
I really appreciate that each of you represents a little bit of a different slice of the rural experience in Georgia, although we are all bonded by the allergies. Each of your districts has received a rural workforce preparedness grant, and I wonder if you just share what prompted y'all to apply for the grant, and what do you hope to achieve with these funds?
We received the Workforce Preparedness Grant to support our industry readiness for our students. We have a good population of our students, probably around the 40% that Chris was talking about earlier, who don't have a plan for after high school. We try to get them a graduation plan, and we start that in middle school, but we still have some who just don't want to jump on board and decide anything that they want to do after high school. So in conjunction with our CEO and our Wiregrass Technical College, our chamber, we decided to identify 10% of our graduating class and offer a 40-hour course in work readiness. This course will consist of OSHA 10 certification, CPR, and one of our industry needs is forklift drivers. So they will actually be learning how to drive forklifts as well. That came directly from our industry partners. Also, part of this grant helps us to have externships for our teachers. One of the disconnects, I believe, in CTAE is that we have CTA teachers who don't really understand our workforce needs because they're really in the classroom and they're not out seeing what's going on, how the automation's picking up with manufacturing and warehouse development. And so we need our teachers out in the workforce to see the skills that our students need. Just because you have a pathway, it doesn't mean that you are preparing our students for our workforce in Ben Hill County. This will also give our students a chance to have an 8-hour our teachers to have an 8-hour externship in the industry where they will get to spend 8 hours just understanding what's going on in healthcare. We have Polar Beverage, Millex, West Fraser, Dormany Medical, and Southern Veneer. One of our biggest partners is Dormany Medical, and they already have allocated $200,000 to our College and Career Academy. We have students who go there who say they want to be doctors and nurses, but we all know that everybody's not going to be a doctor or nurse, but they might want to be a phlebotomist, they might want to be a surg tech, they might want to do x-ray, they might want to do MRI, whatever. So we are trying to expose our students to a more well-developed idea of what the medical industry is. It's not just doctors and nurses. Also, we have a partnership with Millex where they sponsor our robotics team. And they have poured about $63,000 into our robotics team. They use automation in their workforce, and they partner with our robotics team to extend opportunities for them to come into the industry and see what's going on with automation and robotics. They actually created a piece for them that they needed not long ago, and something that they were building, and our kids in the Career Academy actually built the piece and took it out, and it worked just for what they needed it to. So those type of experiences. We just had a partnership with West Fraser where they are partnering with us for forestry because we have a 400-acre high school site. And forestry is a big industry in Ben Hill County with Southern Veneer there, West Fraser. So we're going to build a building where we can have kids working in our forest, partnering with ABAC, and Wiregrass is going to start a forestry pathway. So we got a lot of good things going on, but our teachers really need to see what's going on. They need to understand, where we need to change to meet the workforce needs. And our College and Career Academy board is actually a big part of this as well because that's where we've created all these partnerships. We also have the Flex competition for entrepreneurship that started in Ben Hill County with Melissa Dark in the Chamber, and we are excited about that, and any of you who want to sponsor that or partner with us for that, we are excited about Flex and what it's doing to help our students learn how to be entrepreneurs in this workforce.
Ooh, a lot going on in Ben Hill, y'all. But definitely hearing exposure is such an important thing, both for our young people, but also for our teachers. Thanks, Don. Al?
Like I said, we're Meriwether County, and it's a rural area. The reason we applied for the grants, we wanted to make sure that we provided an opportunity, to provide exposure to our students to the opportunities in an evolving workforce. And also we wanted to expose them to, looking at the 10 diverse career pathways that we have. And what we're going to use our grant funds for is we're going to strengthen our STEM opportunities by providing a STEM camp, STEM career tech, CTAE camps for students in grades 5 through 8. And during those summer STEM camps, we're also going to tour the local industries. And in addition to that, we also want to add to our career pathways. So we're going to add a sports medicine component to our healthcare science and technology pathway in partnership with a company called Rehab Solutions in Manchester, Georgia, which is a town in Meriwether County.
Okay, so in Lee County, one of the most important things is really our teachers are educators, obviously being the largest employer in the county, we live, work, and worship in Lee County. And so tapping into what were some of the needs of our community, and we hear a lot about deficits in staffing in healthcare, we hear a ton about a teacher shortage, but what we really haven't tapped into is the shortage in law enforcement. And when you look at where do people want to go to work in law enforcement, little bitty Leesburg is probably not a big draw from most places. And so what we looked at is, after seeing a 40% deficit in availability, a huge amount of retirees, was what could we do and how could we partner with our local community around law enforcement. And as you think about law enforcement, the last thing we want to do is send 16-year-olds out on a ride-along, right? That would be a little traumatic. And so, I hope we would all agree that might be a little traumatic. But so our big investment and why we applied for this grant was to look for real-life simulation. Because it is one thing to sit in a classroom, to read about public safety and say, you know what, I want to go into law enforcement. But when you, as a student, are put into those real-life situations, and we are able to do that through other areas a little bit easier without the risk. But in law enforcement, that's very difficult to do. So the last thing we wanted to do was have students to go through a pathway, pursue a career, and find out part of the way in, this is not what I really want to do. And so by investing in real-life simulation and the availability to train in a safe space and to really give students the exposure to those experiences without the risk was huge for us. The other piece to this was partnering with our Chamber of Commerce, but also partnering with our local law enforcement, because there is an opportunity for local law enforcement to utilize and work with our students with the simulator to really walk them through what that looks like, what law enforcement looks like in real life. And so just that all hands on deck approach in our community, but also to meet a community need and to produce, hopefully, to walk the path and produce those law enforcement officers that come to the table ready to go was part of our incentive to apply for the grant.
So often with grant funds, it gives you an opportunity to bring people around the table and try something new. Maybe it's a variation on what you've already been doing. One of the things we've heard all day today, as well as from the previous panel, was just sort of the importance of listening. Did anyone catch that the most important life skill we need to be cultivating is humility, which is part of that listening? Curious to hear what you all are hearing, speaking of listening and being humble to our students. What are you hearing from students as you're beginning to roll out this workforce preparedness work? Are you getting any kind of feedback, any consistent themes in what we're hearing from them?
I think one of the things that we hear from students is school's kind of boring. So they really want us to make school meaningful. And I think as older educators, I'm an older educator, 27 years, it would probably not really, what I would do in the past would probably not fit with right now. So I think as CTAE teachers and academic teachers, we've got to find an alignment between the two to where we are tapping into the creativity and just the interest of students. We can no longer just say the old way is the best way. We have to listen to them. We have to understand what their interests are. We have to have conversations with them. And I think sometimes educators are scared to have conversations with kids because they're going to challenge us into thinking about things that we've never had to think about, just like AI. You can do a lesson plan now with AI in like 5 minutes. Our teachers are scared of that. Our students love it, though, because they're digital natives. All they want to do is what they want to do, and they're hard to motivate because we don't have the same intellectual depth for computing that they do. So they're on the phone all the time, they're playing games, they're doing all kind of stuff that we have no idea what they're doing. So the interest level of kids, we have to tap into that. We have to know what they want. We have to align that with what our industry and workforce needs are. And we have to start growing in the areas that we need to grow as educators to meet the workforce demands and industry demands.
Regarding, student feedback on our 10 career pathways, and as we've, we survey our students every 2 to 3 years to be sure that we stimulate the interest, and we administer a youth science assessment, sort of it's a career inventory to sort of give students an idea. Here's what you may be interested in. Here's what's available maybe that you did not even know that you were interested in. But one thing we noticed, again, living in a rural area, of course, our students, they are aware of the opportunities that are available in our industrial park and manufacturing on the north end of the county. And we have, other entities in the county as well where there's employment opportunities. But what we've noticed is our students were unfamiliar of how our career pathways can tie to employment opportunities and careers beyond our local geographic area. So we've worked real hard to be sure that we're making our students aware of regional and national and worldwide type of opportunities, and for example, if they choose the military, to possess some skill sets. But we hear from our students. We work hard to encompass soft skills into all of our career tech programs, and our students seem to really embrace that. And of course, I was a career tech teacher myself. I taught agri-science education, and so it's easy for me when I'm visiting these programs to see they like the hands-on opportunities. You're up out of your chair, moving around, and as she said earlier, they'll put their phone down if they're up moving around, and you have them engaged in a hands-on activity that's providing them the competencies and skills that they need for entry-level employment. And of course, the students, they like the work-based learning opportunities. Some of our programs where they go out actually into the industries like healthcare, science, technology, for example, that we're going to use our grant to add a component of the sports medicine pathway. They have the practicum where they actually go out to the hospital or the nursing home to have so many actual hours out of actual work-based experience.
So we have a lot of those same advisories, and what we continuously heard from our kids was, one, diversification. So everyone doesn't want to go into the same pathway, and so making sure that we are diverse enough in our pathway offerings. And then where we identified a gap from feedback from our students was they felt like we had done some of the work with the pathway, but really the goal when we say career in college is, are they really ready to take those steps in an apprenticeship or an internship or go right into that workforce? And the answer for us was no. We weren't bringing it across the finish line. There were some gaps there. And so through that feedback, we really started to identify, and it put a little bit of pressure on ourselves to form true partnerships. So rather than have a partnership that talked about what you could do with a career, it was really our moving forward when we're taking on partners at Lee County, with Lee County High School, it is that commitment to jobs. So what you're committing to us, what we're committing to you is to really work hard to create a workforce that meets your needs. And what the commitment from our business and industry is, we are going to interview and guarantee X number of jobs out at the end of this pathway. And so we're adding a masonry pathway, which we hadn't really thought about, but there is a huge need in our community, and that really has a finish line for students into a career. And when I say career, I don't mean a career that puts you at or below the poverty line, but a career that puts you where you can have a great life and live in the community and be successful.
That's a great segue to our next question, Katie. Really curious, because we've got a rather full house actually out here. I'm curious, by show of hands, how many of y'all would identify yourselves as K-12 educators, just quick, or students? Because I see a couple tables of y'all. All right. And then how many of y'all would identify as business or other? Okay, it's a good 50-50. So this next segment really is about sort of how might we offer some advice drawing on the experiences that y'all are uncovering, and Katie, you just really uncovered some right there. But I think the key here is we can do lots of programs that are around exposure and field trips, et cetera, hands-on learning, but there is that bridge, that final bridge of, do those experiences not only ignite imagination, but actually equip students with skills? And I'd be curious to hear what your counsel would be to the K-12 educators out here about what lessons have you learned that you would like to save them from having to live through?
Lessons I've learned as a superintendent, as a former math teacher, is that It's hard to be an educator. It is extremely hard to transition time after time to hear negative things from our community about our work, our kids. One of the things that I see a certain person all the time in Fitzgerald, and they'll be like, your kids, they can't do nothing when they come out of high school. You know, they can't read, they can't work together, they can't do this. But it's very discouraging to hear that. We have a diverse population that is high poverty. We're 100% free and reduced lunch. We have kids that don't learn skills at home. We actually have 53-year-olds we've targeted in the last 2 years to expand our early learning opportunities so we can get kids in our door quicker because of the demand for kids to be ready to learn. Our kids don't come to us ready to learn. They come to us impoverished. Some of them can't speak when they come. We have all the wraparound services that we can ever have, but one thing that we cannot beat is poverty. Poverty is the number one depressor of potential. I think, you know, the potential of kids who come from poverty has to be the number one factor that we try to overcome in the educational setting. It's actually very sad. It saddens me to know that this literacy effort in the state is just now becoming as big as it is, because we probably let down generations of kids by not having kids ready to read in third grade. So we take that to heart. We take to heart that when we send kids out who graduate, that they are ready. Do they have some things that they have to learn? Yes. Can I go to their house and get them up and wake them up and say, oh, you got to go to work now? You know, we have parents that call us and say, can you get the SRO to come wake up our student to bring them to school? We're like, we can't do that, you know. So I think there's a little grace that we have to have for these kids that are coming out of high school. I think we have to teach them exactly what we expect, because if you teach a child exactly what you expect, most of the time they're going to adhere to it. They don't want to let you down. Most kids want you to be proud of them. They want you to pour into them. They want you to love them and to, you know, just give them everything they need. These kids are different than we were. Our parents were like, you're going to college, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. These kids don't have that. They do not have that at all in rural Georgia. So the school system is becoming the mom, the dad, the nurse, the dentist, the feeder, the clother, everything. So we're overwhelmed. So when we send kids out, maybe they don't have all the skills, but I think workforce has to take on that commitment to say, in your orientation, in your mentoring, that these are the things that we expect from you. These are the things that we need for you to do as an employee, because we can't make it all happen in K-12 education. There has to be an expectation from industry and business that you're going to train those kids to be exactly the kind of worker that you want them to be.
Those are excellent points. There's really not a lot that I can add to that. I mean, she mentioned wraparound. We realized that the need was there was such a need in our community that we were able to obtain some grant funds, and we have a full-fledged, full-service wraparound centers at both of our high schools, and one of our middle schools is encompassed in that campus, and we have care closets in the other middle school and our 2 elementary schools, and they're just full-service centers. And the difference that they made are absolutely unbelievable. And you mentioned literacy. When I arrived in Meriwether County, we were not a Get Georgia Reading County. And we also partnered with the Deal Center, and we've encompassed the basics. And we've added an early literacy coordinator. And we're actually seeing a difference. I mean, for the first time since the inception of No Child Left Behind, we do not have a comprehensive school, a targeted school, or a promise school for the first time. We're very proud of that. And I mean, I just only hope that some of you, if you go back toward the Gold Dome, you talk about the good things you're hearing here today. Because there's legislation on the table that wants to take the schools that are in the lowest 25% and open up voucher opportunities. It's going to take the funds that we need to offer these services and opportunities that we need here today. It's like, I thank you for clapping for me, for telling me that we no longer have, for the first time since the inception of the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, that we do not have a school that's in a bad category, you might say. However, all of our schools, according to some statistics I read that's running through the state senate, that every one of them are still in the bottom 25% based on content mastery. Well, I'm telling you that we're moving that needle. And now if legislation's passed that disrupts that, then Houston, we have a problem. And they're still going to want me to provide those services with, less money, you might say. And but from just the things that I could advise, like our industry leaders and the other school systems here, is school leaders, and make sure that all of your career tech programs have a valid and viable and active advisory council for each of the programs. Industry leaders in here, chamber members in here, make sure that you're serving on those advisory councils. School leaders, you need to be present at your industrial development board meetings. We have come light years, and we have added our career tech pathways to determine which ones we need by having a seat at the table at those meetings and knowing at what industries they're recruiting, who's potentially coming. Finally, when deals are closed, who actually does arrive. And so, and again, I believe I said it earlier, be sure you do a needs assessment with those industrial leaders every 2 to 3 years. Have them to come into your schools, make sure that the instruction and the competencies and the skills, especially the skill sets that you're teaching, that they're aligned with entry-level employment skills. And so those are just several things. I didn't mean to get off on a political speech, but I am very concerned. It does hurt that we've reached the highest level that Meriwether County has ever known, but we're still in a bad category.
Take us back, Katie.
Okay, so bringing us a little bit, I want to thank all of the comments previously and can second those. A big, just real sweet and simple advice to K-12 friends is don't do this in isolation. So don't see boundaries, don't see lines where your school system starts and ends, but look at who are you working with. Your neighbors, maybe some of your best adversaries and some of the adversaries, maybe some of your best advocates, sorry, as I got twisted, cough medicine, there you go. Advocates in this work. So don't work, and you've heard this through and through, get involved in your community as a superintendent, as a principal, as your school leadership needs to be sitting at the table. Attend Chamber of Commerce, and if you haven't been invited, invite yourself. I'm fairly certain that they will welcome you at the table. But knowing what's going on in your community helps you tap in. And last but certainly not least, listen to your students. If they are not sitting at the table as these decisions are being made, you are missing an opportunity. I don't know how many times you plan something, you're super excited, and nobody comes. That's a good indication that you missed the mark. But have your children and your students sitting at the table, and it is never too early to have some of these conversations. The hopes and dreams of a 5th grade student, of a 3rd grade student, become the outcomes in our community as they exit 12th grade.
And so here's a couple of things that I'm hearing as a summary. I'm hearing to K-12 folks, those core basics, starting all the way from the beginning of foundational literacy, and to our community partners, that foundational literacy is not only the job of the school, but there are all these wraparound supports, and there are places where other community folks can help with that work. One of the things that we talked about in our pre-call that I want to just make sure we lift up here is there seemed to be a new generation of partnership that is emerging through this work around workforce readiness. And I don't actually recall which of y'all mentioned it, but I kind of feel like all three of you talked about a different type of co-engaged, co-ownership partnership. Does that ring a bell for any of y'all? All right. Dawn, you're nodding.
Yes, I can say that in the past 5 years, the Career Academy really helped us with that. We have, like I said, we have our College and Career Academy board, but we really never had industry at the table. We had advisory committee meetings. We had, different people who come to the meetings, but we never really got a whole lot of feedback. But we've changed a lot of the things that we do because our partners are requiring us to. We were very happy to have the partnership with Dormany Medical, Millex, and West Fraser. And when we started our Career Academy, one of our goals was to reach out to our industry partners, business partners. And with the Flex program, we've had great success with Irwin EMC and I can't even think of what the one in Fitzgerald is, but the Water, Light, and Bond there, they sponsor Flex for us. So they're not only pouring dollars into our programs, they're actually giving our students opportunities to job shadow, to, go watch a surgery on a day. If they have something exciting coming up, they'll say, can you bring some students out here? We want to show you what's going on. We want them to see, the things that are happening in the hospital. And we're very fortunate to have a rural hospital because, there's not many in Georgia, so we're very happy about that, and we're expanding some of the things we're doing there. But even as the district, we actually have a good many work-based learning students who are actually working with our school nurses who, are getting some skills there. So we are very excited about the partnership between the district, the school, and our community partners, and CIS, who does a great job of mentoring our students as well.
All right, as we're wrapping up, I want to just end on this note around thinking about this generation of students. What excites you the most about this next generation of students and the career opportunities that lie ahead for them and partnerships in your communities? Go, Al.
I mean, I'm very impressed with the tech savviness of this generation. They do have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I know that that we had an earlier speaker today. They need those entrepreneurial skills, and then of course you need the soft skills as well. And then the global connectivity opportunities that they have, it's unreal. There's so many job opportunities and actual careers. The identification of so many careers that are going to be available for them, and we do not even know what they are yet. And that's so unreal. And I mean, I'm also impressed. This is a very diverse and inclusive generation that we have that's coming. I mean, they're going to embrace diversity. And so those are the types of attributes that this generation has that I'm impressed with. And I know it was spoken earlier, the concerns of what COVID has done, and it's sort of put them in a isolation mode, you might say. But the right types of career tech programs and hands-on skills and the work-based learning, get them out and working where they're working with and around others, and how to work together and have teamwork and cooperative learning activities. I do believe that the future's bright.
I think for me, it is, in the past, there were preconceived notions about students who were choosing career rather than college. And I think we need to get past those notions, because the young people today that are choosing career may be fully capable of going to college, but are choosing that career instead. And what I'm also most impressed with is we have a group of young people coming through right now that don't see obstacles. Where we came up, well, you can't do this and you can't do this, and they are sitting at the table and they're looking at you and say, why not? Why can't we do that? And they are looking for active solutions to move forward. And so I am encouraged, I am excited. We have a group of young people that see no limits, and so it is our job to help them get where they want to go and make sure that there are great hands waiting on the other side of that bridge ready to take them on.
Dawn, you have a final word?
They're risk takers. It's the biggest group of risk takers I've ever seen, and they are going to make our future bright in Georgia. And I think that if you have a chance to speak to a young person, encourage them. They all need encouragement. They need to know that there's an expectation for them that Georgia can be great and even be better than it is right now, because we're investing in our young people. In K-12 education, I don't think there's ever been a bigger investment. So, and just a plug for the vouchers, vouchers will hurt public education. So please, if you can contact your representatives, we need public dollars in public education, because we need our students to have every opportunity to meet their potential.
Well, you heard from 3 leaders who get up every day to serve young people and families in communities and rural settings across Georgia. I think what we're hearing broadly is that There is so much more than just getting kids ready for jobs. That's such an important thing for the vitality and prosperity of our state, but also just infusing meaning, reawakening these young people and their imaginations, and the possibility and hope will address so much more than just boredom. And so we thank you so much for your leadership. Will you join me all in thanking our guests?